seen.
We're gradually changing, it's just a jump. Like our generation from the generation before us is just so different. I feel like we've changed the way society looks at things completely. The way we deal with situations is like we're dealing with problems in our generation that have never been seen before.
The Pluto and Sagittarius generation.
I feel like we're stepping outside the lines now. There's no following anymore. Like everyone's going their own ways.
Were you born between 1995 and 2008? Then you've Pluto in Sagittarius. Transformation and power through travel, education, languages, media, law, philosophy, religion, understanding. During this time, we saw school shootings begin. Ritalin, tuition fees, academies, suppressed childhood abuse memories, scandals in the Catholic Church, designer drugs, chemtrails, an increase in plane crashes, the Data Protection, Sexual Equality and Human Rights Acts, the rise of the internet. Drugged, brainwashed and babysat by technology, your generation struggles to be free.
The stuff kids are doing nowadays, you would have never found that before.
All lads were trained for battle at Agincourt. In the late 18th century, cannon fodder for Napoleonic wars. And now, army conscripts, reservists. Now pending, drivers, couriers, pilots, new positions available, tell your friends, yeah? All trained on Xbox. Your enthusiasm and love of exploration will be subverted by the elites to offer you jobs in the military, to put you on the front line for their world wars. You will find more and more restrictions on travel, security, iris and fingerprint scans to prevent you from exploring, and fed horrific stories about the consequences of going anywhere on your own. You will be fed new smart drugs to block out your intelligence and independence. You will be led to think tanks. You will be beset by tech. Every move your finger makes on the phone screen is recorded, used for profiling of the way you think.
I believe the advancement in technology is a big it's played a big role in the way we young people think and we believe in stuff. That we believe we can take on anything, and we can take on the future because of the advancement in technologies that we're provided with. Our parents or the older generations they didn't have what we have now, so I feel like with that tool, the technology as such, being present in our generation, it does help the way we think and the way we believe in the future and the things we actually want to do and the processes we decide to follow to get those things done as such.
Well, I think something that's different with this generation is we're very exposed to things on the internet, and the internet is the source that brings everyone together in some ways. You can find out all sorts of things. You could Google the historical figures and instantly find out information. But on the other hand, there's so much that pops up. You're scrolling through things, barely even paying attention a lot of the time, and slowly it could be making you think certain things. And I think that's the worrying thing with things like Cambridge Analytica and things like that, is that people who are paying a lot of money to try and work out whether you're seeing certain things or whether you're going to be susceptible to it, as a subliminal messaging. But the other thing in this generation that's a problem is that now that we've all got cameras, we're very focused on we want pictures of ourselves all over the internet, and people looking like they're having a great time all the time. Look at this person having a great time, look at this person looking great, and it can really affect people's mental health. The sort of show-off generation in a way. But we don't all do it, but it's definitely there, and I think that's something that this generation's very exposed to.
I feel like it's pretty much, things are moving quite fast, and that in a way could be a bit. I mean, with technology especially, like the way technology is going is evolving like really quickly, and that with young people, if we're not careful, the problem I find with that is we may miss certain important like steps or processes that we're actually meant to actually look more into, because we believe we have the power in our hands. And you know, technology is really good. I mean, it's great, but at the same time it could actually be a sort of drawback to us young people at the same time, because then we become very reliant on it sometimes, which it's not all it's not the best all the time. You know, I feel like with young people we need to step back, you know, assess things, you know, think, you know, use more, you know, think more as such, and not rely too much on technology as such. It's going quite fast, you know, so I feel like we're missing a lot of things, you know, like with mobile phones, for example. You know, every young person's got a mobile phone, you know, from God knows what age, you know, and that takes quite, in as much as it's a great, you know, tool to have, or great stuff to have for young people, it does take away certain values and stuff away from young people at the same time, because then they begin to miss the actually important things around them and focus more on what they've got in their hands and such. But obviously for those that are able to make use of it and obviously come up with something great from the use of this technology, then it's great. But you know, for the majority of young people, you know, it's actually causes quite a bit of harm these days, you know, if one's not careful.
I think the power lies in understanding that social media and technology is, in a way, making us all less connected. Even though it's designed to make us more connected, we're all inherently, through its use, less connected, and everyone feels disconnected and disenfranchised by the world we live in, especially in the city, because people are always living within a device, which I think is a very dangerous way to live. So I think there should be much more said about the harm of social media and the harm of the internet and everything else that goes along with it. And I do think that in 20, 50 years from now, just how people thought cigarettes were good for you when they first came out, it will be the same with social media and the internet, and people will understand that it's actually really bad for your mental health, for your physical health, for everything. I mean, there's so much money in these big corporations that run these social media websites, so it's important that the movements like the Extinction Rebellion, exactly like that, there used to be big uprisings to do with social media against these corporations that are basically brainwashing us, essentially. And I'm not a conspiracist at all. I don't believe in like lizard prime ministers or any of that shit. But I do think that it's very harmful.
Wrist phone bans, wrist chips, curfews, tags, airwaves. Plastic wristbands have been linked in the collective consciousness with socially positive events, charities, good causes. So you will think nothing of slipping one on when they are the next generation of phones. Find moral and legal limits placed around your social communication, as they will try to sanitize language, to restrict free thought and shut you up.
I think it's positive to see that there are people who are waking up, I guess, to things, as some people say. things like the climate emergency has involved a lot of young people. People like Greta Thunberg getting people involved in something that couldn't be more important. The world being under threat, and it's horrendous when you see the oceans filled with plastic. When you watch I saw a David Attenborough documentary, and there was this whale that was filled with plastic. And I think things like that are quite shocking to people, and young people, I think, are getting more engaged. But there's still the sort of Russell Brand way of thinking of don't vote, don't do this sort of thing. But I like to think that young people will see through that and see the best way to get your voice heard is to actually engage. And when you look in America as well, there's with the gun violence, I've seen that there's been young people who are just saying enough is enough with these schools that have had these shootings, and nothing is done about it. And I think I like to hope that they'll be the generation that could sort out that issue.
Belief systems, faith versus dogma. What obstacles block your way on reaching a higher truth? Desire mind. Control of desire by the mind. Enlightenment. The expression of love, wisdom. Spiritual soul. Ambition. Personality. Direction. Soul. Harmony through conflict. You have natural, flexible fire energy. The fight for an ideal, for truth and justice, or for freedom, can lead to combat, and is connected to the rise in knife crime amongst the youth. It's war to the death of the personality or form. Struggle, gambling, risk. The final path, discipleship. It's the courage and endurance of actually travelling through the dark forest that gets you to your destination, along with your optimism and humour.
I hope that with my generation that we just try to stay positive with things, and things can change, the issues that we have. But the thing that's good to be positive about is we are actually really lucky right now, because we've got, currently antibiotics are working for us, so there's a lot of diseases that we're not having. There are things to be positive about, where we are lucky that we're this generation. If we were only a couple of generations before, we would have been in the Second World War. Generations before, we would have been dying of diseases that we've eradicated. Obviously that doesn't affect globally, because there's some places where these things still haven't, where there's not the healthcare that we have here. But I'd say keep positive, and I think through optimism and positivity you can make a lot more change than the negativity.
Sagittarius is the spiritual warrior. It oversees the gate of God and houses the galactic center. It is responsible for the higher spiritual education of all intelligent life on Earth. Supreme defender of the high truth. One who is willing to live, fight and die for this truth. To hit the target of our highest ideals and dreams. The Zen Archer, whose arrow points towards the heart of our galaxy, from which expresses the cosmic intelligent force that forms and suspends our entire galaxy. The attached centaur, the unattached archer, sense duality. The arrow of initiation, focused consciousness, aspiring man, orientation, Acquire and hold a steady eye, hand and stance prior to firing the arrow towards a desired point, a specific goal, a higher goal, one vision. The power to see the vision and move towards it. Idealism.
Money, in the young generation, money is changing everything when it comes to gangs, education, anything, to be honest.
Sagittarius rules the thighs, the main centre of physical power and protective strength. It's the movement, it's the movement, it's in the movement. Restless, I see the goal. I reach the goal. I see another. Where is your arrow pointed? Thought is power. 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 Looking for what cannot be seen.
I feel like that's something I have to think about.